Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here, being my original true self, bringing you guys a brand new 2019 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from the pioneers of deathcore, Despised Icon. With the band's sixth album came out today, entitled Purgatory, which was released through Nuclear Blast Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Despised Icon, they're a deathcore band hailing all the way from Montreal, Canada, and these guys have been around since 2002. And a lot of people consider Despised Icon like the band that pioneered or invented deathcore. I definitely would have to say so. Like, they're pretty much the first band that does that. Like, they were like really influenced by a lot of like the whole like death metal bands like Cryptopsy, Suffocation, Morbid Angel, bands of that nature, but also incorporate a lot of like hardcore bands like Hatebreed and stuff. And then sort of like combining the death metal and hardcore hybrid into what we know as deathcore, which later influenced other bands like Whitechapel and Carnifex, bands like that. And they've been putting out albums since their, I believe, 2005 album Consumed by Our Poison, which was a pretty good album. It was like something new and fresh at the time. They were like original at the time, creating something new to the table, a new style of metal. In our opinion, was a solid album. But then we go into 2007's The Ills. Or wait, 2002 was to Consume by Poison. I'm sorry, I fucked up. 2005 was the next album, being The Healing Process, which I thought was another solid album. But I just feel like they just gotten better a little bit. And then 2007, we roll with The Ills of Modern Man, which I thought was a pretty good album. I feel like they pretty much stepped up there. And then 2009, they put out Day of Mourning, which in my opinion is probably my favorite album of theirs. It's a really great album. I love it. Probably, like I said, probably my favorite Despised Icon album and probably their best to date. But then it wasn't until we go into 2010 when the band had broken up, mainly because they were just for like touring too much and they wanted to focus on other bands and do other things and stuff. But it wasn't until then I was kind of like regretting, like, damn, I really wish I could have seen them. But then we flash forward to 2014 when the band announced that they were reuniting, which was, I pretty much, when I first heard it, I was like, holy shit. And I was like dying to see them live. And of course, like I said, I saw them live finally last month for the first time, and it was great. Right, I've waited a long time to see them. But then, of course, it wasn't until like 2015, 2016 or so when they officially announced that they're back. But they're not going to do it like they did before, where they're just full time. It's just going to be like a little part time gigs and stuff. And then their previous album, which came out in 2016, Beast, which I thought there was like their comeback album, but I thought was pretty solid. It was kind of like different compared to like Ills of Modern Man or Day of Mourning. I mean, it has like a little bit more just hardcore sound, being a little bit kind of like how one of the vocalists, Alex Aryan's other band, Obey the Brave, which I thought were pretty good, but just sounds weird for Despised Icon. But here we are in 2019 with the band's sixth album, Purgatory. Does this album live up or exceed what Beast definitely has? In my honest opinion, I feel like it definitely has. I feel like this album has a lot more variety, a lot more diversity a little bit. It still honestly kind of sounds like they're just going straight up death metal, like I said. So with some of their like first couple records. And it's definitely a lot more better than Beast in my opinion. I think it's just that good. The production is just solid. Like, it's just very crunchy. Like, everything is where it needs to be. Like, that's pretty much one thing I love about Despised Icon. And just let's talk about the vocals from Alex Aryan and Steve Marat. Like both of their voices are very unique. Like, Alex kind of has that more hardcore sound to his voice, has like the mids, and where Steve is a lot more the death metal, where he does like a lot of low growls, and has high screeching, and does like the bree pig squeals, which are a lot familiar with like deathcore and not deathcore, death metal and grindcore and stuff. But I just like how the two sort of like are like on the same level playing field, which is awesome. Guitar wise, Van Landerville and Eric Yaron's guitar playing is just solid. Just like the riffs they come up with is just solid. Just very crunchy, and just the soloing and leads is just fucking awesome. The bass is pretty audible compared to like previous albums. It pretty much stands out a lot more. I mean, Sebastian's bass, I think, really stepped up on this album compared to like previous albums, even though one album he wasn't on Day of Mourning. But yeah, the bass is definitely a standout on this album. And drumming wise, what can I say about Alex Pelletier, aka The Grind? The dude, I don't even know how he does it. Just he's just freaking just blast beats just fucking all over the place. So yeah. So yeah, enough of me rambling. Let's just dive into this album track by track. Now it starts off with a little intro called Dernier Souffle, which is kind of like the different kind of like field compared that the band had done. It also has a little bit of acoustic guitar parts, which is not really known for Despised Icon, but I feel like for here it kind of works well. But then it leads into the title track of the album, Purgatory, which is actually the first single released from the album. And it's sort of like almost just wow, it just boom hits you right in the head. And I just love how just like the riffs in here just aside, like I don't know, just the riffs are just on the song is really great. Then we're moving on to Lightspeed, which this song just crushes in speed and just like in terms of like the drumming wise, and is just, and this song also has like a really sick breakdown in there, and I love like the bass drop in there is pretty great. Next song is called Slow Burning, and this song almost has like a little bit of like a grindcore influence throughout, and plenty of nods to like the group's kind of like first couple records. It just feels so dark, and it sounds heavy, and it overall stands as one of the most cool songs on the album. Next song on here is Snake in the Grass, which is a really good song. Has a very chunky sounding, has some very crunchy riffs and huge beats combined, sort of like the mixture of like aggressive vocals, which is just insane. And it also has a very rumbling bass. This is pretty much one of the songs that the bass really just stands out on here, and it just shakes you every time. An overall really great song. Moving on to Vies d'Anges, which of course Despised Icon is pretty much known for having some songs like the lyrics are sung in French, being as they're from Montreal, and that a lot of people and the people there speak French. And this song itself blends in like the adrenaline-soaked fury with some like the best vocal work on the album. Like Alex and Steve just are pretty much complement each other really great. Just wow. Next up is Moving On, another great song. Like musically, this kind of sounds very melodic a little bit. Almost kind of reminds you a little bit of Black Dahlia Murder, which their current their former bass player Max is now in, which is a pretty good song. I don't know, it just kind of reminds you a little bit for some reason, I don't know. Anyway, moving on to Unbreakable, another good song. I like it. Apex Predator, which in my opinion is probably a personal highlight on the album, which actually has some really crazy guitar work and even just a solo on here, which absolutely shreds. Legacy, I love it. And then the album closes with the song Dead Weight, which I think is a great way to end the album, and some like great vocals from here from Alex and Steve. Great way to end this album. Now overall, Purgatory by Despised Icon is a really great album. Probably much one of the best deathcore albums I've heard this year, along with like the new Carnifex and Whitechapel. So if I have to give this album a score, I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. So yep, that's my review of the new Despised Icon album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.